Hello, and welcome to this tutorial video installing Microsoft SQL Server 2008 on Windows Server 2008 32-bit. Let's begin the process by installing some prerequisites. We'll begin by going Start, Programs, Administrative Tools, Server Manager. This will bring up the Server Manager user interface. The prerequisite we're looking for is the added feature of Internet Information Server. This will give us the ability to also install reporting services when we install SQL Server 2008. In order to install it, we bring up Server Manager and we locate the Features Summary section and we select the Add Features option. This will give us the option to install .NET Framework 3.0 features. By selecting it, we get the wizard that says you cannot install .NET Framework 3.0 features unless the required role services and features are also installed. So by installing .NET Framework 3.0, we also get the web server, which is IIS, or Internet Information Server. We select it by hitting this button here, Add Required Role Services. By selecting it, now we have the .NET Framework 3.0 features enabled. With that, we click Next. This is an informational screen that describes what all of the components of the IIS, or the web server, it's composed of, like IIS 7.0, ASP.NET, and Windows Communication Foundation. We click on Next. Here on this screen, we get a chance to decide what features, or what services rather, we can have with our web server. Here we'll select the common HTTP features. We'll also select ASP.NET. Again, we get the informational screen that says in order for us to have ASP.NET, we must also install the web server role. We click on Add Required Role Services. We scroll on down. Now we decide what type of security we want to have when we have our web server. So we'll choose Basic Authentication and Windows Authentication. We scroll on down and we'll select the management tools. And then we'll click Next. Okay, we confirm our choices. Okay, we're satisfied with them. And we click Install. Okay, now the installation process begins. Once the installation has been successful, we can look at the results screen and take a look at the information to verify that every step was completed successfully. Once we've done that, we'll click on Close. And we can close the Server Manager. And now we can begin the installation process for SQL Server 2008. Once we insert the CD-ROM, we get the autoplay dialog. We select Run Setup.exe to begin the setup process. This informational screen lets us know that we need to install .NET Framework, specifically .NET Framework 3.5 Service Pack 1 as a prerequisite to install SQL Server 2008. By default, the software will install automatically. It comes with the CD. So we click on OK. and the software goes through the pre-setup routine. Once the pre-setup routine has been completed, we get the end user agreement dialog box. We accept the terms and click on install. Once the setup routine has been completed, we've successfully installed .NET Framework 3.5 Service Pack 1. We click on Exit. Now SQL Server 2008 begins its pre-setup routines. It launches a SQL Server Installation Center dialog. In this dialog, it gives you various options. For this tutorial, we'll focus on the options category. And here we want to verify that we have the correct processor type. If you have a 64-bit operating system, this feature, x64 and IA64, will not be grayed out. And by default, it will select this option for you. However, Wonderware products only run on 32-bit database engines. So we have to ensure that x86 or 32-bit is selected. Now, if you have questions as to the hardware and software requirements, security, online documentation like the release notes, and other things relating to the installation, you can also go to the planning category and select one of these options. For this tutorial, we'll go to installation. Now, since this is a new SQL Server installation, we'll select the top option, New SQL Server Standalone Installation. Then SQL Server 2008 goes through its setup routines. This is a pre-setup test that SQL Server runs to determine whether or not you're okay to begin the installation process. As you can see here, I've passed all of the requirements. Then I can click on OK. Once you've entered your product key, you're presented with the Microsoft's software license terms end user license agreement. Accept the agreement and click on Next. Now SQL Server is ready to begin the pre-installation of the setup support files. You begin the process by clicking the Install button. Okay, now it's setting up the pre-support or the initial setup support files. Once that is complete, SQL Server will also do another check to make sure that everything is still good to go for the installation. Ensure that you've passed for every status, for every category, and then click on Next. Now let's select the features that we want for our database or our installation. We'll select the database engine, reporting services, business intelligence development studio for creating SRS or SQL reporting services reports, client tools for connectivity. If you don't know what each one of these means, all you have to do is highlight it, left click on it, and then the description will be shown into this description box. We'll also select client tools backwards compatibility, SQL Server Books Online. We'll take the management tools, and that's it for this installation. And then we click on Next. We'll accept the default instance verify that this is the correct instance ID, and also that we're installing it on the right drive in the right directory. And we'll click on Next. We'll verify we have enough disk space, and then click on Next. Now this screen is asking us which user account do you want to start these services with. Now Microsoft recommends that you use a separate account for each SQL Server service. However, in this instance we're going to use the same account for all SQL services. So we'll select this button, select this drop down arrow under account name, and we're going to select System, and then click OK. As you can see, it populated all of the fields under the account name. Now also for the SQL Server agent, I would recommend that you change from manual to automatic. Under SQL Server Browser, I would select either automatic or manual as opposed to disabled. I'll select automatic and click Next. Here we have to select the authentication mode. We'll select Mixed Mode Authentication, and we'll put in a password. We'll confirm our password. And we'll add the current user to the SQL Server Administrators group. Okay, www.admin, and we'll click Next. We'll go with the install the native mode default configuration. Click Next. Click Next on this screen here for error and usage reporting. Verify that we've passed all of the requirements for a continued installation. Click Next. We're ready to install. We'll verify these are the choices that we have made to our configuration, and we'll click Install. And as you can see, the installation process has begun. Once the setup process has completed, we get these status indications that every component that we selected previously was installed successfully. With that, we click on Next. Here we get the opportunity to look at log information, and also again to verify that everything was installed successfully, and we get supplemental information here. We click Close, and we can also close the SQL Server Installation Center, and we have successfully completed the SQL Server installation on Windows Server 2008. Now this is an optional tweak that you can do once SQL Server has been successfully installed. By going to Start Programs, Microsoft SQL Server 2008, SQL Server Management Studio, we can tweak the memory management to get better performance. We do that by connecting up to our database engine, right-clicking on it, coming down to Properties, and we get the Server Properties dialog box, and we select Memory. What we can do is we can set the minimum and maximum values that SQL Server will use to half or a quarter of what our system has. This system has 4 gigs of RAM, so we'll set it for half, the minimum and maximum values. This way, SQL Server will actually allocate the 2 gigs it needs and won't request any more from the operating system. This will keep it from thrashing. and it will give you better performance. Click on OK, exit out of Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, and reboot the system to complete the installation. That concludes this video on installing Microsoft SQL Server 2008 on Windows Server 2008. Thank you.